everyone. Today's card I'm going to be doing a bit of embossing, so I'm using these dryer sheets, and they're literally just dryer sheets you can buy at your local supermarket. They're nothing to do with craft whatsoever, but they work just as well as the embossing bags that you can use for the same purpose. Now here I'm just drawing a frame around the side of my card, around each edge, and I'm using my Tim Holtz ruler to sort of line this up and get it so it's exactly, I think it was 3/4 of an inch away from the edge of the card. And I'm just lightly sort of drawing that on with my pencil. And here what I'm going to do is put a break in this frame so I can fit the sentiment inside there. And so what I've done is just marked off how wide that sentiment stamp is actually going to be when I stamp it on my frame. And then I've rubbed over with my dryer sheet again, and I've got my white embossing powder there at the ready because I'm going to test my new embossing pen. This is a great little pen actually because it's got a thin tip and a thick tip. For this one I'm using the thick tip, but I thought the thin tip would also be really great for doing your handwritten sentiments as well if you wanted to emboss those. So yeah, thumbs up for this pen from me. And I'm just hand drawing that in. I'm not using a ruler. I quite like, you know, the sketchy sort of look that it gives, not being absolutely perfect lines. The pencil lines I drew on were just for a guide only. You could draw them in with a ruler if you wanted a perfect frame, but I like it just like this. And here I'm just flicking off the excess. So I'm just heat setting that now, and as you can see I'm heat setting underneath the bottom of the card as well. And that's because this card kind of bent as I was heat setting it, and it sort of warped out of shape. And I find if you heat both sides of the card and then kind of play with it as it's drying, so it'll dry a little bit more flat than it perhaps would have normally. And I've just rubbed away that those pencil lines as well. So here I'm going back to that sentiment stamp, and now I can actually stamp it. I'm using Versamark ink and the same sort of white embossing powder. I don't have to be quite so quick with this one because Versamark ink stays sticky for absolutely ages. So you know, I didn't have to rush to kind of get the white embossing powder on before the ink dried, so that was good. And just heat set that again, and that's all the heat setting I'm going to be doing on this card. I'm using this beautiful paper pack by October Afternoon. It's called Fly a Kite, and I'm just punching out 6 different circles from various bits of pattern paper. You can see I've already made this card before, but I just didn't have time to record it the first time I made it, so I went ahead and made another one to show you. And here I'm just sticking down these circles. I'm only using temporary adhesive, and you'll see why shortly. But what I'm doing is I'm using my Tim Holtz ruler again to make sure that they are parallel to the bottom of the card, so I know they're not going to look all higgledy-piggledy, and also so they're spaced correctly from each other, because it can be quite hard to eyeball when you're just placing especially circles onto a card in this way. And the reason I used the temporary adhesive is so I could go over these, go around these with my white gel pen and put some faux stitching in. Ultimately these will be risen off the card using 3D stickers, but it's really quite hard to get a good sort of faux stitching circle around them if they're already risen on 3D stickers. So I just found it easier to do it this way. Now I'm just going to go ahead and raise them off using these 3D stickers. I did notice after I finished this card is it would have been a lot easier to use a few more foam stickers, or one big foam sticker on each one. Because I'm covering this paper with glossy accents, it tended to sort of warp a little bit because it wasn't thick enough cardstock to hold the fact that it was getting wet while, you know, obviously while the glossy accents were drying. Anyway, I'm going to show you how I applied the glossy accents. I'm going to zoom right in, and you can see here I just put a big blob in the middle and then went round the outside of my shape and then kind of coloured in the bits that were missing. And I find that's the easiest way to do it. Just draw around the edge of your shape and then colour in the bits that are missing. And you can go back before it's dry and just touch up any bits you've missed as well. So just set that aside to dry. And that's the card done. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye!